The Grand Bank Folk Festival, just one of the events that's been held this summer to celebrate the community's 300th anniversary. People have come out for the occasion in full force. And these aren't just people now living in Grand Bank. Some in this crowd left home years ago, but for this, they came back.
I guess it's the jelly bean cake she's got there, and molasses cake, lassie figure cake. Gar, what are you going to have in your tea, dear?
I'll have Scotch whiskey.
Like the Matthews family, this is the first time the 5 brothers and sisters have been together in 46 years. Ambrose Matthews is the only one who still lives in Grand Bank. Everyone else left home when they finished school. But being together now brings them back to their childhood.
Ruby, you remember when you used to tell me I was adopted from somebody down Longshore when you got mad at me?
That's right, that's right, yeah.
Especially when I put my cold feet on her.
Before long, the oldest brother, Gar, now living in Nova Scotia, provides the entertainment.
There was that, I was landing on a train and walking down through the hall, you know. And there's a big fat woman there, and he's half drunk. See, the big fat woman there sitting down, and she's pulling her, or just trying to pull her dress down, you know, over her knees. Mrs. said, "Don't tear your calico on account of me. My weakness is liquor."
There's been a lot of changes in Grand Bank since the Matthews were children, but it still feels like home to Ambrose's youngest sister, Cora. She now lives in Toronto.
Oh, I think I'm still a Grand Banker. I think sometimes that I could come and just be here, and it would be as though I'd never been to be away.
Ambrose is the only one who didn't go away, at least not for good.
I've toured the States 5 times. I've lived on the mainland and worked there, but I never seen any place that I liked like Grand Bank. I would rather be home.
What street are we on now, Aunt?
This is George Street.
Yeah. Now, who's that blue and white house in there?
Well, Mr. Charlie Forward built it.
Yeah.
But I don't know the man's name that got it now.
There's a lot to talk about on George Street. This part of Grand Bank is dotted with fine old homes. Many of them were built in the early 1900s, and most all of them inspire a memory.
Now, when I was a boy, there was a veranda on that house.
Is it? Now, whose house was that?
Mr. George Grandy.
George Grandy.
And Aunt Donnie Grandy used to teach I in Sunday school.
Did she?
All the Matthews say Grand Bank is still special to them. Ruby now lives in Kentucky. Does she ever get homesick?
Oh, yes, honey, there's days. Say like in the last of September, the 1st of October, the air, you know, it smells just like home to me, and I get homesick. As long as I've been gone, I still get homesick.
Especially in the Yukon.
Clayton lives in the Yukon.
It's the one thing that I miss is the ocean, because there's nothing in the world that smells like the ocean. And when we get the wind into the Nard here, it's in the house here. It's just, you know, the ocean. It's like being right on the land wash itself. Well, that's the one thing I miss in the Yukon is the salt water.
The Matthews say their family goes back to Grand Bank's beginnings. They think their great-great-great-grandmother was one of the original English settlers. She would have arrived on these shores from the French island of St. Pierre 300 years ago. That thought is just one of the things that keeps the family tied to Grand Bank and to each other.
There's a good side to it, and there's a sad side to it, you see. Now, to have them home is wonderful. But it's only a few days, and then they're going to separate again. Words just can't express the way that one feels.
But for now, the Matthews are together, after 46 years back home in Grand Bank, where they all still feel they belong. For CBC News, I'm Pauline Thornhill in Grand Bank. The garbage dump found just outside of Fortune marks the spot. About 30 geologists from all over the world have come here just to see the fossils in these rocks.
This is the top of an ancient sea bottom, and on this ancient sea bottom there were soft-bodied animals that were burrowing through these muds, and these are the traces of worm-like animals.
The geologists are part of a working group that's been around for over a decade. They're searching for the world's oldest golden spike. A golden spike is a section of layered rocks like this, in which fossils are perfectly preserved. Each layer represents a time zone, so the more layers there are, the further back in time the fossils date. This is the section of cliff that's being considered for the golden spike. This geologist is pointing to the bottom layer. The fossils found in this rock go back about 570 million years. That would make this the oldest golden spike in the world. Paul Myro is with Memorial University. He's one of the people who discovered the site.
This is one of the few spots in the world where you actually have a very continuous, very even sequence of rocks in which the record of life is preserved in.
The geologists have to decide between here and two other sites for the golden spike title. One is in Siberia, the other in China. One thing they'll be looking for is accessibility.
And some of the other criteria that you have a very continuous sequence, and the rocks aren't folded and broken and torn apart and those kinds of things. And so this looks to be a very good section in that respect, because it's very easy to get down here. The roads are not good, and the section seems to be very continuous, and there just doesn't seem to be any problems in that respect. Yeah.
Next July, the geologists will take what they've seen here to a working group meeting being held in England. There, a vote will be held to decide which of the three sites is best suited to become the world's oldest golden spike. For CBC News, I'm Pauline Thornhill in Fortune.